Seiko sewa gwego o jisto kuyo ne yungyat stano skolunhia zegoa yundawiatakwa ato wagyote. Tahno keri hanyanis ne kwahni tonazas ne kahni kanahaza ne widawanadakwe. Tokadine I'll speak in English for the rest of this. My name is Ojisto Kuyo, and I work at the Everlasting Tree School at Skolunhia Zegoa as the early years teacher. So today we're going to be starting this video series on rhythm. And today is an introduction. This is the introductory video on rhythm. So we've really felt that this is such an important topic to start talking about with our families, especially because this year has, created so many changes in the community, so many changes within our families. And rhythm is really something that can help support the young children through all of these changes and help build resiliency with them. And it can also support our families. So we wanted to share some information and some teachings on rhythm and how we use it in our program, why it's important for young children, and how you can start using it in your home. So let's get into it. The first thing is we'll talk about what is a rhythm. So a rhythm, it can kind of sound, I don't know, rhythm. It's like you associate it with music and with songs. They have a rhythm to them, and that's a good way to start looking at it. Really, looking at a song, it has the cadence. It has sometimes you'll have the same pattern. So you'll have the verse and then the hook and then the verse and then the hook and then the verse and then the hook. It's almost like a wave kind of happening with music, and you can see a rhythm, a pattern happening. And this is something that's universal that happens whether or not we recognize it or not. So there's rhythms all around us. And one of them is the yearly rhythm. And for us as Haudenosaunee people is our cycle of ceremonies. Those ceremonies that we keep going throughout the year, every year. And so this image that we have here is, an image that kind of invokes what are the ceremonies we do and when do we do them. And it's this cycle that happens. And it's the same that goes in line with the natural rhythms that we see every year. In this area, we see these 4 seasons and we go through them. The spring, and it has a different quality, in the summertime, and then the fall time, and then the winter time. And these are natural rhythms that affect our bodies. It's the same as like every day, the sleeping and waking, the nighttime and the daytime. These natural rhythms that happen around us very much affect our bodies and very much affect children in their developing ages. When we can go from the macrocosm of rhythm, these big things, these seasonal changes, these night and day changes, these things that happen naturally, and we can go into start going smaller and smaller and smaller. So we might have, with the Gregorian calendar, a monthly rhythm that we do. There's the rhythm of the 28 days with our moon cycles. And you can go even deeper into that. Nowadays, we have our week, this week system with the calendar. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day, every week, we have our own rhythm with the weekdays and then the weekends. And then if you go even deeper into that, every day we have our own daily rhythm. So things that, waking, and then we get ready, and then we might go to work, and then we might, have lunch. And then, these are the rhythms that we have. And the difference between a schedule and a rhythm is schedule is it feels very fixed in the English language. Rhythm is more of a flow to it. And there's more flexibility in a rhythm. So I would say the rhythm is like a schedule, but with this breathing quality, a natural kind of going in and out. And what we try to establish in our rhythms at the school, and when we work with young children, is having a very consistent rhythm, something that the children can start to expect. And we try to model our rhythm when we're planning it each year, to have this quality of breathing in time and breathing out time. Because really, when you look at young children, they need that. If we try to pack too many things all together without giving the children time to breathe out, it can really set us up to fail. So if we try to have circle and then story and then an activity and move them from one thing to the other, without giving them time to digest it and breathe out, and then maybe play and have their own time, and that it can set us up for disaster. So really looking at our rhythms, and what we try to do is have this breathing quality to it. So there's a breathing out and a breathing in time. So this is an example of our rhythm in the Kanen'shón program daily this year, because this year we've had a lot of changes and we're in our cohort learning, so that children only come on the 2 days. And this is what the daily rhythm is and our weekly rhythm for this school year. Also, to keeping in mind that we're outdoors 70% of the time. So we can go in depth into that. So just like I was talking about this breathing quality to our rhythm that we try to implement into our day, you can kind of see that as I go through this daily rhythm. So the parents drop off their children and we meet them outside. And that is the breathe out time where they can come in. If they have tears or this is a hard transition, we're there for them. And it's a little bit easier to meet them during that time when we're outside. And we're not doing anything. We're just letting them kind of come into play, start to welcome the day and get used to being with each other. And then we will bring it into a breathe in time where, around 9 o'clock ish, we'll gather all the children to the fire where we have our fire every day, and we'll smudge all the children. We'll say our opening address. We'll greet everyone, do a greeting song. And then everybody, once we're all done that, we all go together and get our backpacks that are hanging up. And then we go for our hike in the woods. And when we go for our hike, that's a breathe out time where they can kind of really start feeling the environment. They can run if they want, they can walk if they want. We all stay together though. And then at the end of the walk, we have that breathe in time again, which is eating snack together. And so we have it a picnic style right in the woods. We eat everyone has their own food that we provide. And then they breathe out again because they're allowed to clean up, and then they play at usually the big hole where we're at. And then after they're playing for a while, we'll breathe them in again and doing a fixed activity that's teacher led. So that's singing and dancing. And then they free play again, which is child led and, experimental led. And then we come back and we walk back to the school. We gather them together again, make sure they have all their things, and then we're breathing out again, walking back to the school. And then once we get to the school, they put their backpacks, hang them back up, and then they come into circle time. And that's a very teacher-led, focused, movement-based activity. And then they breathe out and they free play. And then they come back together for tea time. And we put on our masks, and then we transition it, and then we transition indoors, and then they have lunch, and then they clean up, and then they go to bed, and we have a story time, which is a breathe in time, and then they rest, which is a bit of a breathe out, kind of breathe in time, a little bit both. And then they wake up and they have their snack, and then they go out and free play outside, and then they get picked up. So this is their breathing in, breathing out rhythm, what you can expect this year in our program. And we also have a weekly rhythm. So we want them to associate with the days that they're in. We want to we have the same food every Monday, same food every Tuesday, same food every Wednesday, same food every Thursday. So they know what to expect this day. So the days that we have activity as well. So during free play, sometimes we'll do an activity together, or they can come at their own will. So sometimes that'll be maybe cutting wood in the morning. And then we have corn soup. So those are the two things that they what do we have today? Oh, today is we cut wood, so we're going to have corn soup. Those things that they start to associate these with the days. And we really like to see that, because then they're starting to see there's a pattern to it. They're starting to see there's a rhythm to our week. They know what to expect every day, and that makes them feel safe in our programs. So that's how we use it in person. And now I'm going to show you, talk a little bit about why we have rhythm for these young children, why it's important for young children in particular. Rhythms, every person has their own cyclical, natural rhythms, sleeping and waking, those, like I said, we all have our rhythms that we go by. But it's so important for a young child who is really coming into this world and learning about what it means to be, we're learning what it means to be human. They're observing, and they take everything in at this time. We call them little sense organs. and they notice and they really fall into what their environment. So we really want to get them into these rhythms, and it be why, because it makes them feel safe. And that's such an important thing for a young child. When they're so young, the first thing we do with young children is we make them feel safe. We hold them and we know let them know they're not alone. We provide for them if they need food. We bathe them, we change their diapers, and as they're growing, they rely on us as the adults, as the parents, as the caregivers to supply their needs. And when their needs are met, and when there's kind of this repetition to things, when they know what to expect, they start to feel safe. And it's so important for young children to feel safe, because once they feel safe, they open themselves up to higher learning. And the safety is such an important thing in early childhood, and it really, because this is the years where they're writing their programming, this is the years where they're developing their subconscious thinking. And so if they feel unsafe and they feel chaos, and there's a lot of chaos around them, that will really affect their subconscious as they get older. And that can lead to, if you look at Gabor Mate and different experts on trauma and addiction, these things happen in early childhood because they're not feeling safe, where there's trauma in early childhood. And the best thing we can do for them is make them feel safe. There's the lower part of the brain, and that's their reptilian brain. Every person's reptilian brain is there. That's our fight or flight. That's our instincts. That's our that basic part of our brain. When we cannot learn and use the higher parts of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, without first feeling safe. So if we don't feel safe, we're not learning. And that's really important for children to understand, that if you want them to be learning at school, or if you want them to be taking in new information, they need to feel safe. And a rhythm helps provide safety net for them. And it's especially important in these times, like around coronavirus and uncertainty, and there's big changes happening in their life. You can really support your child by providing a rhythm for them, and it'll help get them through these times. So my daughter and I, when we started to realize that things we're not going back to in person for a little bit, we're gonna really figure out what we're doing at home. So first thing I did with her was to sit down with her, because she's 8. She's more into her thinking. We're more able to talk about these things instead of me just providing it for her. So we came up together with a rhythm that we have at home every day during the week while we're at home. And she's in her at-home distance learning on Zooms and things like that. So you can see this example of it. There's qualities. I try to think of it with her, like, what do we do when we get up? Okay, now you can, and we eat. There's things she likes to do with me, like meditate in the morning, and then she can free play, and then she comes on her Zoom. So we try to have those aspects in her rhythm. And for at home, for our families that are in the Kanen'shón program, this is an example I made of a rhythm that you could use with your young child. So I just did an example. I'm not going to go too in depth into it, but there's certain expectations we have, like, for example, one class Zoom a day. And that's usually around 10 or 11. Sometimes, depending on your schedule, we have one at 1 o'clock. So, there's some options there for what works best for your family, but they're only 20 minutes to 30 minutes long. And so you can look at your rhythm and create a rhythm around this that incorporates some of the things that we expect in the program, like chopping veggies, baking, deep cleaning, and you can really start to create a rhythm that works for your family, that can incorporate these things and also help them feel safe in it, make it so that the children feel listened to, they feel safe because they know what's going to happen, and that you do it every day. That'll really support your children at home with their with all the changes that are happening, and also with being a part of our at-home distance learning program. So this is a good introduction. We're going to go into more videos later on about how to start implementing your rhythm at home, and we're going to look at different times of the day for different rhythms and how you can better help support your child. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video. Ona.